Welcome back to the British Accent Podcast, the show where we help you speak English with more confidence, clarity, and personality. I'm Oliver.
And I'm Sophia. And today's episode is one I'm really excited about, because we're diving into storytelling. That's right, how to tell stories in English that people actually want to hear.
Storytelling is such a powerful skill. It's not just about entertainment, it's about connection. Whether you're in a job interview, making friends, or giving a presentation, knowing how to tell a good story can instantly boost your fluency and confidence.
Exactly. And the best part? You don't need to be a professional writer or a native speaker to tell a great story. With just a few techniques, anyone can make their English storytelling more interesting, more natural, and more memorable.
In this episode, we'll share step-by-step tips to help you structure your stories, use natural expressions, and keep your listeners engaged. You'll also learn how storytelling can train your brain to think in English, making you a more fluent speaker overall.
Plus, we'll give you simple story templates you can use right away, whether you're telling a funny memory, a travel experience, or even your daily routine. So grab a notebook, get comfy, and let's unlock the storyteller inside you.
Alright, so let's begin with one of the most common questions we hear: what kind of stories should I tell in English? And the answer is simpler than you think: any story that has a beginning, middle, and end. That's the basic structure of all good storytelling, no matter the language.
Absolutely. You don't need a dramatic plot or a wild adventure. It could be something as simple as the time I got lost in a new city, or my first day at a new job. The key is to focus on small, real-life experiences that you can describe clearly. And remember, your goal isn't to impress, it's to connect.
Exactly. And to do that, you need to make your stories visual. That means describing sights, sounds, feelings, even what you were thinking at the time. For example, instead of saying, "I went to the store," say, "I walked into this tiny corner shop that smelled like fresh bread and had music playing from an old radio." Those little details bring the story to life.
Love that. And here's a simple formula to help you stay on track when telling your story. 1. Set the scene. Where were you? Who was with you? 2. Build the problem or surprise. What unexpected thing happened? 3. Share your reaction. How did you feel? What did you do? 4. End with the result. What happened in the end? What did you learn?
We call that the situation, problem, reaction, result method. It's really useful, especially when you're learning English. It gives you structure so you're not just rambling, and it helps your listener stay engaged from start to finish.
Another tip. Use connectors to guide your listener through the story. Words like first, then, suddenly, after that, finally. These help your story flow smoothly and naturally.
And when you tell stories in English, you're not just practicing vocabulary, you're also improving your intonation, your sentence rhythm, and your ability to think in English. You stop translating word for word, and start expressing yourself.
Right? And if you're nervous, start small. Practice with a friend, or even record yourself telling a short story in English. It doesn't need to be perfect. Focus on communication, not perfection.
You can even prepare a few go-to stories in advance, like one funny moment, one lesson you learned, or one surprising thing that happened to you. These can be super handy for conversation practice, interviews, or speaking exams.
And let's not forget the power of emotions in storytelling. When you express how something made you feel, whether it was funny, scary, embarrassing, or heartwarming, people pay attention. Emotion is what turns a simple moment into a memorable story. So don't just say what happened, say how it made you feel.
That's such a good point. And when you're learning English, it's okay if you don't know the exact word for every emotion. Use simple phrases like, "I felt really nervous, I couldn't stop laughing," or "It was the best day ever." You don't need fancy vocabulary, just be honest and real.
Also, let's talk about body language and facial expressions. Even though you're working on your English, your nonverbal communication can help support your words. Smile, use hand gestures, raise your eyebrows when something was surprising. These little things make you more engaging and help your listener understand better.
Exactly. And if you ever get stuck mid-story because you forgot a word, don't panic. You can say, I don't know the exact word, but it's like, and describe it. That's still great English practice. Native speakers do that all the time.
Yes. Learning to navigate around gaps in vocabulary is a superpower in language learning. It means you're thinking in English, not translating, and that's how fluency grows.
Another great way to practice storytelling? Listen to other people's stories. Watch English language YouTubers, podcasts, TED Talks, notice how they build suspense, use pauses, and land the punchline. Mimic their rhythm and timing. That's how comedians and great speakers learn too.
And you can even retell their stories in your own words. Take something you heard and try to explain it to a friend, or write it in a journal using your own phrases. Retelling is one of the best fluency boosters out there.
Also, don't forget to ask questions when someone else tells a story. Things like, what happened next, or how did you feel? Not only does this help you improve your English, it shows you're interested, and that's what makes a conversation flow naturally.
Exactly. Storytelling is a two-way street. The more you interact, the better you'll get. And remember, you already have stories to tell, your experiences, your culture, your perspective. Don't be afraid to share them.
Everyone's story matters. And the more you practice telling yours in English, the more confident, fluent, and expressive you'll become.
Let's dive deeper into structure. A good story in English often follows a simple pattern, beginning, middle, and end. First, set the scene. Where were you? Who was with you? What was going on? Then move into the problem or interesting moment, something unexpected, funny, challenging, or emotional. And finally, wrap it up with what happened in the end and what you learned, or how it changed you.
Right, and you can even use specific storytelling phrases to guide your listener. Things like, one day, suddenly, and then, in the end, these are great transitions that help keep your story clear and easy to follow.
Totally. And if you want your story to be even more interesting, use sensory details. Describe what you saw, heard, smelled, or felt. For example, the room was silent, except for the sound of my heart pounding. Or, the air smelled like fresh coffee and rain. Simple descriptions like these bring your story to life.
Another great storytelling tip, use dialogue. Even basic phrases like, she said, or, I told him, can make your story more dynamic. You don't have to repeat the exact conversation, but adding just a little back and forth gives your story more energy.
Yes. And when you use dialogue, you get to practice different sentence structures and expressions. Like, I couldn't believe it, so I said, are you serious? That's a great way to show surprise, and it's super natural.
Exactly. Plus, storytelling builds your memory muscles. When you tell the same story more than once, each time trying to improve your vocabulary or add new phrases, you get better and faster. It's like a workout for your fluency.
And if you're shy, start by writing your stories down. Write about a memory, a funny mistake, your first day at school or work, anything. Then read it out loud. Or record yourself. This helps you build confidence before sharing it with others.
That's actually how a lot of successful language learners do it. They practice privately first, then take it to conversations. Little by little, your storytelling becomes natural.
You know what also helps? Watching or listening to other people tell stories in English. Podcasts, TED Talks, or YouTube channels where people share personal stories, these are gold. You'll hear how native speakers structure their stories, the phrases they use, how they build suspense, how they use humor or emotion, and you can imitate them.
Yes, and when you watch those, Try shadowing, repeat what they say right after they say it. That improves your pronunciation and rhythm. Plus, you'll naturally pick up expressions like, "it all started when," or, "you won't believe what happened next," which are perfect for grabbing attention in conversations.
Also, don't worry if your story isn't dramatic. Everyday things can be super interesting if told with the right energy and emotion. Talking about the time you missed the bus and met someone interesting, or how you tried a weird food for the first time, those can be great practice.
Exactly. And stories make you memorable. If you're in a job interview or a classroom or even chatting with friends, telling a short, well-structured story about your experiences or challenges makes you stand out. People remember stories more than facts.
Yes. And that's the secret. When you tell stories, you're not just practicing English. You're connecting with people. You're making them feel something, whether it's laughter, surprise, empathy, or curiosity. That's what makes you fluent, not just perfect grammar, but the ability to connect.
And speaking of connection, don't underestimate the power of your body language when telling stories, yes, even in English. Facial expressions, hand gestures, and tone shifts add flavor and clarity to what you're saying. They help your listener follow along and stay engaged, especially when your vocabulary isn't perfect yet.
That's a really good point. And if you're not confident at first, start small. Tell a short story, just 2 or 3 sentences. Like, "I was late to work because I spilled coffee on myself. Then I had to change my clothes, and I missed the bus." That's a story. It has a beginning, middle, and end. And it gives the listener something to react to.
Yes. And the more you do that, the more natural it becomes. Another tip. Record yourself. Just talk to your phone. Tell a story, then play it back. Notice how you sound. You too fast? Too quiet? Do you pause naturally? It's a great way to become aware of your delivery.
And if you're feeling brave, share your story with a friend, or even better, in an English group. Facebook groups, online forums, or language exchanges. Just post or speak your story and ask for feedback. Most people will be supportive, and you'll learn a lot from their responses.
And don't forget to listen when others tell their stories. Responding to someone else's story is a skill too. Practice saying things like, "Wow, that must have been scary," or "That's hilarious," or "What happened next?" That's how real conversations flow. It's not just about telling stories, but reacting to them too.
Exactly. It's a two-way street. And the more you tell, listen, and respond to stories, the more you'll start to think in English, because stories are full of emotions, images, and personal meaning. They help the language stick.
And when you think in English, especially through stories, your fluency jumps to another level. You're not just translating words, you're feeling the moment, recalling emotions, and expressing them directly in English. That's powerful.
One trick I love to recommend is to retell your favorite childhood story or memory in English. Pick something simple, something you've told before in your native language. Then try to put it into English, even if the grammar isn't perfect. Start with, "When I was a child," and go from there.
Yes. And if you're stuck, write it down first. Write a short version of your story in English. Use simple words. Focus on the main points. Where were you? What happened? How did you feel? What was the result? That structure helps you stay clear and confident when you speak.
Another fun technique is to look at a picture and make up a story about it. You can use random photos from the internet, or even look through your phone gallery. Describe what's happening. "This is my cousin. He was eating ice cream and then a bird stole his cone." You'll be surprised how much creativity this unlocks.
And let's not forget, storytelling isn't just about the past. You can also use it to talk about the future, your dreams, your plans. Like, "I hope to visit Japan next year." I want to try real sushi and see the cherry blossoms. That's a mini story about your future, and it's just as valuable for building fluency.
Exactly. And stories about your opinions count too. I watched a movie last night. It was about time travel. I loved it because it made me think about choices. That's you sharing a personal perspective in story format. Easy to relate to. And it invites others to join in.
You know what else helps? Using story templates. Like, first, then, finally, or, one day, suddenly, luckily, these are great for structuring your thoughts without getting lost. You can practice these out loud every day, even by talking to yourself.
And when you're in conversation, you don't need to be the best storyteller in the world. You just need to be real. People remember feelings more than perfect grammar. If you're nervous, laugh about it. If something went wrong in your story, share it honestly. That's what makes you relatable.
Totally. Language is about connecting, not performing. And the more you practice telling stories in English, the more confident you'll be jumping into conversations, explaining your thoughts, and expressing yourself with ease.
Let's also talk about your audience. When you're telling a story, keep your listener in mind. Think, what would they find interesting or funny? This helps guide your word choices and tone. For example, if you're speaking to someone who loves travel, you can start a story like, "When I got lost in Italy," that immediately hooks them.
And don't worry if you forget a word. That's a common fear for English learners. But you can describe around the word. Like if you forget microwave, you can say, "That machine that heats food quickly." That keeps your story moving and builds your speaking flexibility.
Exactly. That's part of what makes storytelling so great for fluency. It forces you to be resourceful. And you build confidence every time you successfully express an idea, even with limited vocabulary.
Another tip, use body language. Your hands, your facial expressions, they're all part of storytelling. They help your listener understand and stay engaged, especially if your English isn't perfect yet.
Oh, and let's not forget, record yourself. Seriously, grab your phone and just tell a short story. Listen back. Notice how your voice sounds, where you pause, which words are tricky. It can feel weird at first, but it's one of the fastest ways to improve your fluency and storytelling flow.
You could even start a story a day challenge. Every day, tell one short story in English about anything. What happened today? Something funny you saw online, a memory from last week. Keep them simple. Over time, your brain gets used to organizing thoughts in English.
And try to vary your tenses, too. Past tense for what happened, present tense for how you feel about it now, future tense for what you want to do next. That mix will make your speech sound more natural and help you practice grammar in context.
One last thing, don't rush. Good storytelling in any language includes pauses. They give your listener time to imagine the scene, and they give you time to think. So speak slowly, enjoy the story, and trust that you're improving with every sentence you share.
And you know what else helps? Listening to other people tell stories, especially native speakers. Watch vlogs, podcasts, or interviews. Pay attention to how they start their stories, how they use expressions like "you won't believe this," or "guess what happened next," and how they build suspense or humor.
Yes. And don't just listen, try to mimic them. Shadowing is such a powerful technique. Replay part of a story and repeat it out loud, copying the tone, rhythm, and expressions. This builds your muscle memory for natural English speech patterns.
Plus, stories are perfect for learning idioms. Like if someone says, "I was over the moon," instead of "I was really happy." Or "I hit the sack," meaning "I went to bed." The more stories you hear and tell, the more your vocabulary expands in a natural way.
Let's give an example. Say you want to talk about a time you were nervous before a job interview. You could start with, "I had butterflies in my stomach the whole morning." That's more vivid than just saying, I was nervous. And it keeps your listener curious.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to make mistakes. Stories don't have to be perfect. In fact, sometimes when you forget a word and laugh about it with your listener, that moment becomes part of the story. It's real, it's human, and it helps you connect.
That's right. Fluency doesn't mean sounding like a robot or speaking without pause. It means being comfortable enough to communicate naturally, even when it's messy. And storytelling is one of the best ways to practice that.
So whether it's a story about your weekend, your childhood, or a funny misunderstanding you had in English class, tell it. Share it. You'll build not just fluency, but confidence, connection, and joy in using the language.
And here's another tip: organize your stories using simple structure. Start with a setting. Last weekend, I went to the beach with my friends. Then move into the problem or event, but suddenly, it started raining like crazy. And finally, the result or your reaction: we all ran to the car, soaking wet but laughing like kids. That simple beginning, middle, end pattern helps your listener follow along and stay engaged.
Exactly. And don't worry if you forget something or get a little lost in the middle. Just pause, smile, and say something like, "Wait, let me think," or "I'm not sure what that word is," but that's totally natural. Even native speakers do it all the time.
You know what else really helps? Telling the same story multiple times. The first time, maybe you struggle a bit. But the second time, you already know what to say. And by the third time, it's smoother, faster, more fluent. It's like rehearsing a performance, but way more fun.
And you can even write your stories down first if that helps. Just a few notes, like a mini script. Then practice saying it out loud, record yourself, and listen back. You'll notice where you pause, where you could add more emotion, or where you need to slow down.
Also, don't forget gestures and facial expressions. Even when telling stories in English, your body language speaks volumes. It keeps your story alive and helps convey meaning, especially if you're searching for the right word.
Yes. For example, if you're describing something huge, spread your arms out wide. If something was embarrassing, you can cover your face slightly or laugh nervously. These cues make your story feel real, and your listener can easily understand you even if your words aren't perfect.
That's the magic of storytelling. It's not just about vocabulary or grammar. It's about making your listener feel something. Whether it's surprise, laughter, sadness, or curiosity, emotion is what makes a story powerful and memorable.
And don't underestimate the power of your voice. Changing your tone, using pauses, speeding up during exciting parts, and slowing down for dramatic moments, these things really bring a story to life. You don't need perfect English to be a captivating storyteller, you just need rhythm and emotion.
Absolutely. And let's not forget about asking questions while you tell your story. Like, have you ever had something like that happen? Or, can you believe that? It's a great way to keep your listener engaged and make the conversation feel more interactive rather than just a monologue.
Yes. And when you involve the listener, they start to share their own stories too. That turns your storytelling into a real connection. It becomes a conversation, instead of just a one-sided tale. That's where fluency really grows, when you're going back and forth, reacting, laughing together.
Another way to build storytelling confidence is by starting small. You don't need to tell a full 5-minute story right away. Just try telling what happened in your day. This morning I missed my bus, and I had to run across the street like a crazy person. Boom. That's a story.
Yes, exactly. Or talk about a funny moment with a friend, a time you felt proud, or even something embarrassing. Those real, simple moments are relatable, and they're easier to describe, because you lived them.
And over time, you'll notice patterns in how you speak. You'll reuse phrases like, "I'll never forget when," "the funniest part was, I didn't know what to do." These expressions become tools in your storytelling toolbox, and every time you use them, your fluency strengthens.
So, to wrap things up, storytelling isn't just about entertainment. It's one of the most natural and effective ways to practice English. You don't need perfect grammar or a huge vocabulary. What you need is the courage to share your experiences, the curiosity to connect with others, and the willingness to make mistakes and learn from them.
Exactly. Every story you tell, no matter how small, is a step forward in your fluency journey. And the more you tell, the more confident you'll become. So, go out there, share your stories, listen to others, and enjoy the ride.
Thanks for joining us on the British Accent Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful, don't forget to follow, share it with a friend, and leave us a review. And remember, your story matters, and your voice deserves to be heard.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep telling your stories. Bye for now.